today's conference about the UnMuseum in partnership with Bristol Digital Futures Institute is to give a space for those communities that have been marginalized and have been racialized to tell their own stories, to explore their own narratives on their own terms, away from the Western historical tradition of the museum.
The UnMuseum is vital in gathering cultural voices, not just from Bristol, but on this occasion consulting through the whole of the Southwest. It will bring different voices from diverse backgrounds together to give their story and critically break the mold of what museums have done in the past, something new in the 21st century.
The UnMuseum Project is rooted in a powerful idea: to create a dedicated space that honors and preserves the unique stories of Black and racialized minoritized communities. This initiative represents not just years of dedicated work, but also a commitment to radical change. We're not just building another museum, we're reimagining what a museum can be.
So many of us have stories and archives hidden between our living rooms, our attics, within our own homes that aren't being taken care of and that aren't being exposed to the wider public. By having an UnMuseum in which these things are stored in a trusted area controlled by the people who experience them themselves, we will be able to tell all the important stories that have been untold for decades.
We often tend to think that artifacts are things that are held in museums and in places, when actually it's people, it's their stories. What the museum does is crack open and wide our stories so that it widens, broadens and amplifies, and does it in a joyful way that commemorates, that builds our sense of self in an immersive and inclusive, but really open and honest and accessible way.
There's just this ongoing movement, this momentum in the project that is driving this reimagination, this rethinking what cultural heritage is and how it can affect all of our lives, and particularly lives in the Southwest. This is what is happening in terms of how people want it to feel.
Having a platform that could take materials in, but would also be concerned with the way in which experience, how those stories were told, because different communities may have different elements of what they want to preserve.
Intellectual property is a big thing often when it comes to digitisation, because there's a history of things being taken.
And in that sense, the digital isn't the lead, it's led by the community.
For far too long, arguably for 500 years, the story of the world has been told through a very particular lens. That's a Western Euro-American lens from the historical tradition of the museum.
The history of our museum services dates back to the era of colonialism, and so we have a lot of reparative work to do to bring museums into the 21st century.
For decades and centuries, the stories of African heritage people and minoritized people have been misconstrued and misrepresented.
For communities such as mine that have often been overlooked, unheard, pushed to the side, or actually had our narrative co-opted and distorted.
UnMuseum is a platform where people from all over the Southwest, from all different cultures and backgrounds, can add and contribute to their cultural heritage in the way that they want their story to be told, preserving our memories as teaching mechanisms for our children, an archival, living historical space by coming together like our ancestors did, in circle, in community.
The most striking thing is the breadth of the consultation and really taking people's points on board. The commitment to doing something different that hasn't been done before, building something brand new.
We need to be brave, we need to be bold, we need to not be afraid to shine a light down in the archives and allow communities to take control and make the space for them to do great things.
Look around your own community. Ask your friends and family who are Black and minoritized what histories they have and what histories their grandparents or parents have told them that they haven't told before. I think importantly, it starts within the community itself, and from then on it can proliferate to the wider society.
The best thing that people can take away from here today is encouragement, inspiration from all the speakers and the performers and the artists, and then go away and implement that in some way within their communities and the wider society. It is really important for communities that are historically underserved to have a voice, and I think the UnMuseum Project is going to be one of these arenas where that voice is not only going to be heard, but amplified.